Hello, I'm Zash, and welcome to episode 57 of my Steins Let's Read. What would I do with a time machine if I had one? I would use it to take over the world!
She doesn't want Zash to do bad things.
I would use it to go back to America in the 1960s. Free love, yeah baby, yeah!
Whatever. Anyways, please enjoy this episode.
I look at Kurisu. She too seems less than enthused.
We may have created a monster here.
I look at the improved phone wave, name subject to change, again. The biggest changed is the headgear attached to the X68000. It looks like something out of a low-budget cyberpunk movie. Fortunately, we don't need nerve jacks or brain chips for it to work. You just put it on and let the sensors do the rest. Why don't we decide what to call it first? I vote Heavenly Express.
Phone Wave 3rd Edition version 1.00.
Silly Hat Phone Wave-chan! No consensus.
You guys have too much free time.
Does that mean you're abstaining from the vote?
Time leap machine.
That's terrible!
Come on! Simple is best, right? I mean, that's what Akabe's been calling it for the past 2 days.
Looks like my assistant has zero naming sense.
I don't want to hear that from a Junibyo kid case like you.
Oh ho! So Makisi she knows the word Chunibyo. I sense your otaku level is quite high.
I heard it from a friend. I have no idea where it comes from.
Ha! A bold-faced lie. She should just confess to being a Nat channeler. Kurisu meets my grin with an icy glare. It's up to you, Mayuri. Choose one. Whenever the lab's divided on a name, the right to decide belongs to Mayuri. I think Time Leap Machine is fine. Aw. Silly Hat Phone Wave-chan is super close, though.
Somehow, I knew she'd say that.
Like I said, simple is best. Mayuri gets it.
I want to object, but it's an unwritten rule not to complain once Mayuri's made a decision. Very well, Time Leap Machine it is. Assistant, explain for us all how this Time Leap Machine works. I know the basics, but I want to hear the details. Kurisu nods and stands in front of the whiteboard.
In short, this device converts memories to data and sends them to facts. Begin with what we all know. By frequent coincidence, the phone wave is able to produce ring singularity, much like Dawn Fighter's time machine. The ring singularity is made naked and stable by a device known as a lifter. In our case, that's the 42-inch CRT downstairs. Through the ring singularity, we're able to send up to 36 bytes of data to a pin. The signal can only be received by phones. While that does limit the range of effect, it also removes an element of uncertainty from the equation. Unlike emails, memory data is sent in the form of a phone call, so we'll be using a phone number, not an email address, to set the destination.
She's explained the basics. Next, she'll explain the modifications she made to turn the phone wave name subject to change into a time leap machine.
Phone wave now has headgear attached. This headgear records the nerve impulses in the temporal lobe of the brain, specifically the CA3 region of the hippocampus with memory. Then, using VR technology, we encode the nerve impulses into electrical signal data.
It comes out to approximately 3.24 terabytes.
Well, that's not a huge amount. Well, it's a huge amount of data, but not the exabytes they were expecting.
Yeah.
3.24 terabytes. It's less than I expected. We're talking about the entirety of a person's memories.
By the way, we'll set it up so that the data decodes automatically after a certain amount of time. Anyone well-versed in programming can do this. I had Hush them make it true. Anyway, next we send the memory data through the net to the LHC in France.
This building has a direct line to CERN for some reason, so we can transfer data at insanely high speeds. How long does it take to send 3.24 terabytes of data?
We have 64 direct lines in parallel, so if we send it in 64 parts, It should upload in about 45 seconds.
Wow.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, you said it. Next, we hijack the LHC, create a mini black hole, and use that black hole's supergravity to compress the data into 36 bytes.
Which doesn't work, but we went over that already.
Yeah.
3 terabytes is about 3 trillion bytes. Compressing that into just 36 bytes, that's one hell of a squeeze. Will the compression take long?
It's practically instantaneous. 23 milliseconds or thereabouts. We're using a black hole after all.
By the way, the compression only holds in the immediate vicinity of the black hole. Once the data leaves that area, it will begin to decompress on its own. I don't think it works like that either. This too takes 23 milliseconds.
It has to make it back to the X68000 and into the phone wave within that window.
And also, it takes light 33 milliseconds to get from France to Japan, so there's a problem there.
Yeah.
It's only 36 bytes. Shouldn't be a problem.
Yes, it is a problem.
Yeah.
Continue, Christina.
While the data is being compressed, we use the phone wave to generate a Kerr ring singularity. When the electron discharge phenomenon occurs, we take the 36 byte data, patch it in, and send it to the past. This part is just like an email. Data travels to the specified time, where it arrives at the recipient. By now, 23 milliseconds should have passed, so the data will be fully decompressed. Next, the decoding program runs, converting the data back into nerve impulse signals. These signals are discharged from the phone's earpiece at approximately 0.02 amperage, a pretty weak charge. If the recipient has the phone to his ear, they should go straight into his brain. If it's a missed call, well...
Assuming he answers his phone.
If he doesn't, the transfer fails. Fortunately, we lose nothing but that copy of the memory.
Why a phone call instead of an email?
Because we need the recipient to put the phone to his ear. Otherwise, the signals won't reach his temporal lobe.
She indicates the side of her head.
In this area, you have the frontal lobe and the temporal lobe of the brain. As I explained before, the hippocampus, where memories are stored, sits inside the temporal lobe. The phone sends out electrical impulses that pass through the temporal lobe and into the hippocampus, overriding the recipient's movements. At the same time, the phone sends impulses that stimulate the frontal lobe as well. This is important.
You notice how she's using at-channel smileys as people?
Yeah. Remember that the frontal lobe is responsible for sending retrieval signals to the temporal lobe. This is how you remember things. By stimulating the frontal lobe, we force it to send retrieval signals key to the new memory data. Okay, that explains something.
Yeah.
Thus, the recipient recalls all of those memories as if they were his own. Which, of course, they are, or will be in the future. This happens in less than a second. Now the recipient has the same memory as the sender. The time loop is complete. Assuming they don't go completely insane,
Yeah.
if the data came from 1 week in the future, the recipient would remember that week as if he experienced it personally. We need to be aware that consciousness and personality aren't transferred. Both of those depend on the recipient.
Explain it with boobs.
Okay, there's this sender who wants to send a message back in time. His name is Daru.
Yeah. No.
Oh, you mean like women's breasts?
Yeah.
Oh, not the birds?
Not birds either.
Oh.
Boo?
But I like boobies. They're neat birds.
They are, actually.
And then there are the great tits.
Those are actually kind of cute.
Krisu dissolves into a blushing, stammering mess. Looks like it's up to me to answer Daru's question.
Sashi! Explaining science with breasts.
Not with boobs, obviously.
Oh, I wanted to hear you fumble through an explanation with boobs.
Let's say we send your memories to you in grade school. Right now, you're some kind of omnisexual pervert who thinks inanimate objects are hot. But in elementary school, you were still an innocent child.
I was a boring little bastard who did nothing but study. What of it?
Basically, that little bastard would suddenly have all your perverted memories, but his personality wouldn't change. It's not like you'd become that famous anime detective with the looks of a child and the brains of an adult.
What? That sucks.
This isn't like the time leaping you see in sci-fi novels. We aren't yet capable of transferring personality and consciousness.
Since you need a phone to receive the signal, you can only send memories to the time you had one. We also need to make sure that the sender and the recipient are the same person. So let's not have someone else answer the phone, huh?
Yeah.
If someone besides your past self, your parents or friend, for instance, answers the phone, then the nerve impulse signals will be directed at their brain instead. If that happens, your memories could override theirs, which could obviously cause serious damage to their psyche.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
That is a bad thing, TM. Krisu ends her explanation and takes a short breath. The lab falls into silence. I exchange glances with Krisu and Daru. I look at Mayuri, but her expression is blank. I guess it was too complicated for her. So, I clear my throat. It's time for the $1,000,000 question. What do we do with it?
Do with what?
The time leap machine, of course. What do we do with it?
Ellipses.
For once, my assistant has nothing to say. I already know that she fears we've created a monster. Honestly, I feel the same way. After a few moments, Krisu finally speaks.
It's too much for us to handle, that's for sure. The safest thing would be to hand it over to the government for professional research.
I can tell that she's not pleased to have reached this conclusion. She obviously would prefer to experiment with this technology. Wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, not really. Not with this.
I would.
Yes, you want to work with black holes, too.
Yes, I do. And you won't let me, and Char won't let me. It's not fair.
Exactly.
It's not fair.
Very fair.
Pout.
It is very fair.
After all, it's humanity's first time machine. We've finally taken our first steps towards godhood. I'm sure that the nations of the world would pay billions for just one look at our machine. Or kill you. The possibility that it represents are limitless.
It just doesn't feel real.
Miyushi doesn't get it. Well, that's par for the course.
Yeah.
That's because you didn't work on it, Mayushi.
Oh, right. Hehehe.
What about you, Okabe? And I mean you, not who you killed.
I agree with Krisu that the time leap machine is dangerous. On the other hand, I want to experiment. I state my honest feelings. I'm completely with you on this one, Okabe. Krisu gasps. But there are still questions we need to answer. This is unknown territory, not just for us, but for all of humanity. Who will time leap? I look to each of the lab mems in turn. Daru quickly looks away. Mayuri's expression is blank. Krisu stares right back at me.
It's hard to choose.
I'll pass.
Lipsies. Not a single person here wants the honor of being history's first time traveler. Everyone, except for Mayuri, is probably thinking about what could go wrong. What if the time leap were to fail?
It's not like CERN's time machine. The possibility of becoming a jellyman is zero. Yeah, but you might become a gibbering vegetable, which would be arguably worse.
Yeah.
This machine sends data, not the real thing. Don't let your preconceptions influence your decision. You might say it's like a cut and paste in your brain. Actually, it's more like a copy paste, and it's just your memory.
Copy pasta.
Yeah. The original doesn't get erased.
That's a very easy to understand example. But that's not the problem. Time flows in a straight line from past to present to future. At least, that's how most humans see it. This raises several questions. What if there's an error somewhere and the data itself gets fractalized? Let's say I send my memories an hour into the past. My memories would be replaced by fractalized data. In other words, data full of tiny holes. Wouldn't that cause memory loss?
I suppose.
1 hour later, we arrive once again at the present. At that time, the me who lost his memories an hour ago and the current me conflict in my brain. Which data set survives?
Logically, the present should change as soon as you send your memories to the past.
The conflicting current me disappears then. So then it's not a copy-paste at all, is it?
I don't know. No one's ever experienced time travel before.
Oh, they have. They just turned up as jellymen.
No.
When we send a D-mail, the world is reconstructed based on the change we made to the past. I'm the only one who's aware of this, however.
We don't know what happens when you time. If it's the many worlds interpretation like Tiger said, then the instant you time leap, it creates two possibilities. One where you shift to another world line, and one where you travel back in time on the same world. Of course, there must also be a world line where the current you doesn't disappear. That would likely correspond to the present that we're experiencing right now. It's okay, baby. You don't need to understand it.
But that's only if the many worlds interpretation holds in the first place. I thought you didn't believe what Titer had to say.
I'm talking hypothetically. Titer doesn't matter right now. If it's the Copenhagen interpretation, then every possible state propagates through space as a wave function. When a particular state is observed, the remaining states collapse, and that state is fixed. Oh, that sounds terrible.
A well-known approach to the Schrödinger's cat thought experiment. In this interpretation, before the box is open, the cat exists as a combination of two wave functions, one that is alive and the other that is dead. The instant the box is opened and the cat is observed, the wave function collapses to either condition. If the cat is alive upon opening the box, the wave function collapses to become a live cat. Conversely, if the cat is dead, the wave function collapses to become dead cat. Another quantum approach to this experiment is the many worlds interpretation. In this case, the observer who found the cat alive and the observer who found the cat dead exists in two separate universes that diverge the moment the box is open. The Copenhagen interpretation is currently the dominant theory.
Okay.
Clear as mud?
No, that's pretty easy to understand.
Okay. But precise observation is impossible. The problem is who the observer is in this case.
Wouldn't it be a third party? Like me or Mayushi?
Not necessarily. It might be me. It might be someone else. It could even be God. To begin with, the Copenhagen interpretation and the many worlds interpretation are both microscale theories used to explain quantum interactions. No one knows whether they can be applied to humans or the world at large. What about my personal experiences with reading Steiner? If reading Steiner is the sort of power I think it is, then the world line model is correct.
Speaking of reading Steiner, if he retains memories of going back through the world line, how would that affect if he should copy-paste his brain and affect the world line?
I don't know. In the end, we arrive at the question of where is the self?
This time leap machine only sends memories. That I guarantee.
Won't the present be reconstructed at the moment of the transfer? That's what happens with Okarin's reading Steiner, right?
That makes sense where D-mails were concerned. When we send a D-mail, we're obviously interfering in past events. But time leaping is different. All you do is send your memories to the past, which isn't the same thing as sending a targeted D-mail. Whether the me who suddenly remembers the hour into the future will, in fact, change the past is something we can't know until it happens.
I'm getting confused. It sounds like we're talking about the soul. Isn't that a religious question?
Wait, you guys are misunderstanding. 1 hour isn't enough time for your personality to change. You should be the same person 1 hour ago that you are now. The only difference is that you'll have an extra hour's worth of memory. Isn't that what's all true with everything?
How can you be sure? Traumatic events can happen in less than an hour.
Well, yeah, you can learn something that in less than an hour that can do serious things.
Yeah.
Well, I can't. Nobody's tried it before.
This discussion's going nowhere. Personality and consciousness can't be strictly defined, so it's hard to imagine what might happen. So, which is it?
We don't know. We can argue the theories all we want, but in the end we can only guess. The experiment may end up shattering preconceptions scientists and philosophers have held for centuries.
We won't know until we try. That pretty much sums it up. To make matters worse, the subject must be prepared to risk damage to their psyche. Krisu, Daru, and I say no more. We can't solve the problem. This is our limit as scientists. But haven't we accomplished enough already? The Time Leap machine itself is worthy of a Nobel Prize. We could sell this technology for billions if we choose. And if we go public with the Time Leap machine, we can break CERN's monopoly on time travel technology. That's enough. It has to be. Hey. Mayuri, who has been observing the discussion with glassy eyes, opens her mouth to speak. I have an idea. Why don't we make a banana time leap instead?
Oh, Mayuri. Oh, Pancake. Bananas don't have brains like people do.
Oh, you need a brain, huh? Mayuri never changes. The atmosphere in the room is a little more relaxed. Let's not experiment. We'll entrust the Time Leap machine to a suitable research institution. Then we'll announce it to the world. Thanks to the lightening of the mood, I can finally say what was on my mind. Neither Krisu or Daru objects.